Nice. Got some big fish.
Are you kidding me? Oh my God! This big mama came out. This is the biggest fish I've ever killed bow fishing.
Sun's out.
Puffs out, baby. Hey, Schmitty.
Oh, back in the lab, man.
You betcha. The Bowfishing Buzz brought to you by AMS Bowfishing and
Megamouth Bowfishing as well.
Yep, you bet. March, buddy.
I can't believe it. I can't believe
March is here.
We're getting closer and closer to, up here at least.
That's
to
right.
Go back out on the water.
Get back out, and we are back on schedule now.
Yes, we are.
Every 2 weeks.
Yep.
Bowfishing Buzz is coming at you because season is almost around the corner here, Schmitty.
Yep.
Weather's warming up. The sun's staying out a lot longer. You know, I remember back in November when we were deer hunting, it's getting dark out at 4:30 already.
Hours would be like 4:36.
Yeah.
Would be legal shooting hours, which is crazy.
Yep. Now it's still light out at 6 o'clock.
Yeah. Yep. It is nice.
Awesome.
It is nice. And just to go with you, Matt, you had mentioned that we're back on schedule now.
Yeah.
So we're going to be in here every 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
And just a reminder for everyone who's listening, as far as the schedule would go for when you guys can get the Bowfishing Buzz podcast, we will record it. And I want to give us, I'm not going to say that these are going to be concrete every single time, but what we're going to try to do is record these podcasts, and whatever day we record them, the audio version will be available to listen to that day.
Right.
And the day after, normally, maybe a little bit longer depending on the podcast, the video portion will be available on YouTube, just in case you guys are looking to kind of, in those video podcasts, we throw a lot of information in there that really relates to what we're talking about.
Right.
So just in case you guys are looking for that video portion, that might be a day or two later, because it's a lot of editing
and stuff.
So just so everyone knows to get back on that schedule of listening to us, because we'll be back up here a little bit more often now.
That's right.
Yep.
And we're going to be March 22nd is going to be season 2.
Oh, yes, of course.
Season 2, Schmitty, on Carbon TV.
Yep.
We've got some new episodes.
Yep.
First one's coming out March 22nd on Carbon TV.
Yep.
It's going to be part 1 of chasing giant stingray.
That's right. That's going to be
out
amazing.
in Delaware.
Absolutely.
Giant butterfly.
And what's the schedule for that going to be, Matt, as far as uploads for that?
What we plan on doing with that is March 22nd will be episode 1 of season 2.
Yep.
The following week will be an episode, a podcast episode.
Okay,
Yep.
gotcha.
The following week will be episode 2
Gotcha.
of season 2.
Okay.
So it's every bi-weekly.
We'll be
we'll
a
have
new episode.
A new episode
Okay,
out there.
I gotcha. Cool.
And the cool thing about Carbon TV, it's free, Schmitty.
Yeah. Yep.
You have a Roku, a smart TV, a Fire Stick. On your phone, you can download Carbon TV, and it's all free.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay nothing. No subscription to this.
Yeah.
And there's some great
Oh, yeah.
hunting videos, fishing videos, camping,
Yep.
ice fishing, bird hunting, turkey hunting, deer hunting, and, of course, bow fishing.
Baby. Absolutely. Yep. And I think another thing, too, like with that is, I'm not sure if any of the listeners have realized it, but there's been kind of a, with the bigger video distribution platforms, I guess you want to say. Sometimes it seems like some of the stuff that we like to do, hunting, I know has taken a hit on it. That's why Carbon TV has been such a big hit. They kind of are wanting to censor a little bit of that hunting heritage, which is terrible. It's awful.
Yep.
But Carbon TV, they're
It's
all
open.
about it. That's
Absolutely.
what they want on there.
That's what they exactly.
And like last year, we were just talking about this in our meeting yesterday. We were up for an award last year. One of the top fishing shows. We don't necessarily, we're not a fishing show.
Right.
We're bow fishing, but
I'll have to see if they can get us changed over.
yeah, we got to see what we can do there. But we were nominated last year for top fishing show, which was a top 4 finish of those shows. When that was really cool to do. So yeah, if you guys haven't watched us on Carbon TV yet, mark your calendars, because
season 2
is right around the corner,
baby.
And speaking of March dates, Matt, today is a huge day.
Huge day.
It's a huge day. Let me tell everybody
10,000 reasons why, man.
Yes, 10,000 reasons why it's a huge day. So as you guys know, if you guys have been following along with us on social media or anything, we are already getting ready for the Big 20 this year. Today is Wednesday, March 1st. As of tonight, at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time, you will be able to pre-register your team for this year's AMS Big 20.
Get locked in, baby.
Get locked in. Get ready. Sit at that computer and be ready for that thing to go live, and get yourself in line, because there's going to be 80-plus boats, And we all know that the slightest little thing can determine finishing in the money or finishing out of the money or whatever it may be, and getting to your spot a little earlier than someone else can totally be one of those deciding factors.
Got that right.
Tonight, 6 o'clock, tonight, March 1st,
right.
Pre-registration will open on the AMS website.
Central Standard Time.
Central Standard Time, yes.
You can there'll be a link on the Facebook page, the AMS Facebook page, and then there'll be a big header right there on the AMS website also, where you can just click on the header, boom, it takes you right there, fill out all the information. Don't forget, and there have been people that have done this, which easily happens when you're in a hurry to get stuff done, but they forget to add the big fish pot.
Oh, okay.
To compete in the big fish.
Gotcha.
And the big fish pot is usually over $2,000.
Yeah, that turns out to be quite the little pot there.
I know there's been some teams that have forgotten to click that. Once they come here to register the day of, we let them get back in that
Okay,
thing.
I was just going to ask you
It just adds more money to the pot for somebody to win.
Right. Gotcha. So, tonight, 6 o'clock, Central Standard, pre-register yourself for this year's Big 20.
10,000 reasons why, man.
10,000 reasons.
What would your team do with $10,000, Shady?
Oh, let's see. What would my
do?
team do with $10,000? Well, I'd probably spend a lot of it on some new AMS gear.
Yeah.
Okay, that would be the first thing.
Yep.
I'd buy some Megamouth reels. Not going to lie to you. Get some Megamouths in there. Let's see.
Do you need updates to the boat?
I do need updates to the boat, actually.
Would you split it amongst the 4 people?
No, it would, to be able to be on my bowfishing team, you would have to sign a contract beforehand that any and all tournament money goes right back into the operation. Okay, maybe it's going to go towards a down payment on the boat. Maybe it's going to go towards some new lights, or changing up the boat a little bit, getting something else, a different trolling motor. We're just going to all dump it right back into
the rig
and get ready to rock and roll at the next.
Keep rolling.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Absolutely. What would you do with $10,000, Matt? If you were not affiliated with AMS, you shot tournaments, you showed up, you took first place. What are you and your team doing?
What I would do is, before the season starts, it all has to be figured out.
Okay.
All right. We would allocate so much to be split amongst the team members.
Well, this is a lot better answer than mine was.
But then you also have to keep money allocated for boat repairs, boat updates, boat upkeeps, new stuff for the boat, gas money.
I was just going to say fuel.
Yeah. But I would allocate some, a certain percentage of those winnings would go to the team members, and then the rest of it goes to gas money. And, but that's a pretty good chunk of change.
Oh, God,
you can pocket some good money for that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep. And just to go with that $10,000, Matt, how many places are we paying out? Do you know that exact number?
Don't know the exact number because it all depends on entries every year.
Gotcha.
But usually it's between 8 to 13, 15.
8 to 13, gotcha.
When we had it at $5,000 first place, we paid out almost down to 20th place.
Sure.
But now we've taken some of that pot money away.
Yep.
Going to $10,000 first place. So it's right around 8 to 12.
Gotcha.
Lately it's been, depending on the boats.
Yep. Okay. I hear you. That's good.
But still, you're looking at, like $10,000 for first, 5 for second, 3 for third, 2. I mean, it's some darn good money to win.
Yep. And I'd be curious to take a poll. I think I would know the answer, but if a tournament had, they'd pay out 30 spots, but all the money was lesser.
You're getting less.
Or compared to paying out the top 10 spots, but then those top 10 spots you're in some serious cash.
A little more money. Yeah.
Right. I'd be curious what the general public would think about
I actually
that.
I actually made a comment on that last year before our tournament.
Okay.
Like months leading up to our tournament, saying, what would you guys prefer? 10,000 first place or 5,000 first place, pay out more places, pay out less places, depending on payout.
Yep.
And everybody liked the bigger payout.
Okay. Well, there we go. Okay, cool.
Now, it probably wasn't by much, Derek. There was still a lot of people that wanted to pay out more spots.
Okay, but majority voted for.
Majority liked the higher payouts.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Yep. And also, Derek, this weekend is the BAA annual meeting down in Nashville, Tennessee. And that's taking place at the Radisson Hotel down there. So it's a great place to go to voice your opinion on anything that you would like to see changed in the Bowfishing Association of America. It's just a good place to go to learn about the Bowfishing Association of America, the club itself, what it does. They'll be handing out some awards there as well, but that is coming up this Saturday down in Nashville, Tennessee, BAA annual spring meeting.
Yeah, and we dive into this every time, and I don't want to take too much time on this, but we always stress how important it is to be a part of these clubs, whether it's a state club,
Absolutely.
the BAA, something like
you
that.
You need to be a member.
That's the future of the sport. Plain and simple.
Yep.
Is having your voices heard. That's all we'll say about that. But just know that we're always proclaiming that.
And Derek, we're going to dive into this a little bit more because we have a special guest coming on.
Yeah.
Brandon Cole, who is the Wisconsin Bowfishing Association president. And he's been the president for quite a few years here in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And he's going to dive into a little bit about some of this, what it all is for clubs and why we need members and why we need people to step up and help out at events.
Yeah. He'll be able to do a much better job of explaining in depth the details of what these clubs do and why they're so important, other than you and I just saying, hey, join a club.
Right.
Absolutely. He'll be able to dive in a little in depth. So, yeah, that's what we got on today.
I've been seing a lot of things on social media, a few things where some clubs are having issues. They're having issues being together. Who's going to run it? They don't have board members.
Sure.
And I know the Wisconsin Bowfishing Association, we're really strong. We have a great group of board members. We have a great group of bowfishers from all across the state. Yeah. We have great numbers of boats that show up at tournaments. So it'll be neat to hear Brandon's side of being the president of a Bowfishing Association club.
Yeah. Yep. A quick little shout out here, Matt, before we get going. Shout out to our home state here, Milwaukee Bucks. Okay, they've won 15 in a row. All right.
Pretty much of that without Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Giannis has been in and out of the lineup.
Yeah.
He didn't play against Phoenix on Sunday. I could get real geeky about this stuff. But, yeah, just a little shout-out to the Bucks, all right? We're going to win the chip again this year.
Yeah, and look at here, Schmitty.
Oh, that's right. Oh, wow, that ties in perfect.
For those of you that are listening to the podcast and can't see, we are pointing to we have a big wood cutout
sign
of the state of Wisconsin right here. And, of course, right there in the heart, that's good old Stratford, Wisconsin. That's where we are at right now.
Yep. I don't know if we could be more central Wisconsin than that little dot right there.
I'm so glad that we are central Wisconsin.
Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, it is beautiful. We just put it up here. We finished it up this morning, actually.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Well, Matt, should I dive into what we got going on here?
Yeah.
So, in our previous podcast that we did, we had a little bit of a secret code when you hear that noise. All right?
Yeah.
So that is going to be in this podcast as well. It's not going to be right now. It might be in the middle of the interview with Brandon. It might be at the end of the podcast.
Don't know.
Maybe it's going to be right after I'm done speaking this sentence. Or maybe not. You never know. But what we will tell you right now is what that special code is going to be for. What's going to happen, you're going to hear that noise. I'm going to say a little code, like a coupon code. You can then take that coupon code to our website, and it will be applicable to a specific product that we are highlighting on the given episode of the podcast.
Yep.
In this podcast, we are going to be advertising bow cases.
Right.
All right. And we're talking both AMS bow cases and Megamouth bow cases. This code will work on both sites.
Right.
And I know I saw a video, Matt. I'm not sure what we were doing. Maybe it was just a product video that you did, and you laid it out so perfectly about your bow case. You said you're rough on your equipment. Bow fishing can be terrible on all kinds of equipment you have out there, but your bow is your baby.
Bow is your baby,
you gotta protect that baby.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. And there's nothing more than a better investment than a nice padded bow case to put in the back of the truck, in the box of the truck, in the boat.
Right.
And protect your baby.
Oh, yeah. Well, and when you think about that too, Matt, and as bow fishermen, we'll go out and we'll spend up to a lot of money on a bow fishing bow.
Right.
The fact that you couldn't spend an extra couple dollars to get yourself a protective case to protect that investment.
Yeah.
It just makes sense to try to have that investment that is that bow last as long as it can.
Yeah, just don't throw the bow in the box of the truck as you go drive 2 hours to the lake. It bounces around.
Yeah.
The limbs, the cams, everything are getting beat up.
Right.
Don't just throw it in the boat. It bounces around in there underneath the deck somewhere. Now, if you put it in a nice padded case and put it underneath the deck or in a compartment, now it can bounce around in style.
It's like you tucked it in the bed. It's just going to sleep until you're ready to wake it up to do some killing.
Zip it up, and now it's time to go sticking.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
Yep. And just a little side note with this too, Matt. The Megamouth bow cases are designed to be they're wide enough so that when you have a Megamouth reel mounted to your bow, you have your shoot-through rod on there, it will fit the entire bow in there.
Correct.
On previous models of our bow cases, you had to take your torque rod out in order for it to zip shut. Not anymore. You can throw the whole thing in there, zip it shut. It's going to keep it tight. It's a nice tight fit. Just so everybody knows, in case you've had that problem in the past, these ones are redesigned
on the Megamouth.
On the Megamouth one, correct. Right. Yep. So, be listening. Be listening.
Be listening for that secret code.
Yeah. Yep.
Don't know when it's going to happen.
Nope.
Mm-hmm. You know, another thing I just want to touch on here, Derek, is it's the 1st of March. Make sure that you do some boat inspections on your boat before you get out. Not only on your boat, but some of your gear.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Yep.
do some inspections before you drive 2 hours to a certain body of water. Make sure that bilge pump is working. Very critical that bilge pump works, because you don't know what happened to that boat as it was sitting all fall, all winter, all early spring. You don't know what happened.
Right.
You know, batteries. Make sure your batteries are good in charge. If you need some new batteries, go buy some new batteries. All that stuff. Your trolling motor works. Make sure that you change the oil in your fan motor and all that stuff.
Yep. From a boat inspection standpoint, Matt.
Yep.
Doing the boat inspections at the Big 20 every year, make sure your nav lights work,
lights,
man.
yeah.
That is every year. I mean, we talk about that, but every year that is the number one thing that we might have to send someone out to somewhere to buy some somewhere, or to rewire them to get them to work or something is nav lights. It's like, guys, it's like, you know, you get everything working, your motor's running, everything's operating good, your trailer's intact and everything, and then it's that stupid little thing that holds you back.
Yep.
And it's your nav lights.
Nav lights.
So do not overlook the old nav lights.
Yep. Another thing to remember is, while your boat fishing points have been sitting for all this time, all these 4, 5, 6 months, they've been sitting, the tips are going to be kind of a little bit rusted on.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Little WD-40, twist them loose, make sure that they're all nice and easy to turn loose when you get them fish, to remove those fish off your points.
Mm-hmm.
You know, go through your gear. Maybe it's time to update and put some new line in your retriever or your mega mode.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
Maybe you need to update and get some new arrows, some more arrows. Now is a good time to get all that stuff before you're ready to hit the water hard time, big time during the summertime.
Because the last thing you want to do, and I'm sure you can speak to this on trips that you've been on and whatnot, the last thing you want to do is get all set up to go shoot somewhere, even if it's close to your house. But like, you know, the last thing you want to do is travel a couple hours to go shoot somewhere, and you get there and you're like, oh, this isn't working properly. So there you are on your trip, wasting time. You could be shooting fish, and here you are trying to fix your wiring on your lights, or you've got a broken shock pad and you got to fix something there, or you know, something like that. When you hit the water, you want to be 100% ready to shoot, you know.
You know, something so simple. I know I said this in a podcast a long time ago, but I'm just going to touch base on this again. We're down the Mississippi River. We drove 3 hours to get to this spot. When we got there, it's dark out. All right. So we unhooked the boat and everything. John backs me in. I go into the water. He starts pulling the boat out. We're in a hurry to get to our spot.
It's his tournament?
No, not a tournament.
Okay.
Not a tournament. And as I'm sitting there, I start the boat up. As I'm sitting there, my feet are getting wet.
Oh, I know what this.
I look down inside the boat there, and there's water pouring in.
Oh,
forgot to put the plug in. You know, and we have a 2-inch hole in
when
the
that
back of the
sucker's
boat.
not in there, the boat is filling fast.
It's filling fast. And I'm like, well, why isn't the dang bilge pump's kicking? It's an automatic bilge pump. It should be kicking in. It should be dumping water. And it wasn't. So this water's just pouring into the floor of the boat. And there's some current there, so I got started up, and I started yelling to John, back down in here, you know. So John hears me, and he stops, and he comes on. He goes, what? And I says, back in. We're filling up with water.
Yeah.
So he backs in, and I drive the boat up on the trailer, you know, and he hooks it up, and we pull it up and let all the water drain out. I'm like, why isn't that bilge pump working?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't really look at it too much that night. We just put the plug back in and went out and did our bow fishing. And, of course, no water was coming anymore. But the next day I got home and I went to check. Or next day when I was home, I went into the back of the boat and looked to see what was up. Here there was a whole bunch of 200-pound line.
Oh, really?
Not a bunch, but a little strand of it had got, you know, went underneath there and got sucked in there. And it got sucked in that little propeller that's in there, and it burnt it out.
Oh, my gosh, really?
Something that simple.
Something that's silly.
Yep. Because you want to make sure if you're taking on water that you have a good bilge pump to get that water the heck out of the boat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's a great example of something to always be checking.
Right. So we have one BAA record to talk about here, Derek.
Yes, we do.
And I'm sure we're going to get a lot more once the season starts rolling.
Right.
But I'm a little surprised with the old Dustin Meisel here.
Yeah.
He's taking a break, I think, because...
What's the deal? He went 3 weeks without shooting a record. Is he okay? Do we need to check on him? What's the deal here?
I think we better check on him.
Yeah, usually he's got, 3 a week.
Yeah. Come on, Dustin.
Yeah. He's only got 50 to his name, so
Right.
he's got to aim for triple digits. But the record we're going to talk about today, Don West, congratulations on his BA Maryland State record, Golden Red Horse, 4 pounds, 15.2 ounces. Nice shooting to Don West.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Good job.
very
Good
cool.
job, buddy.
Very cool.
Good job, buddy. And I see that they're getting quite the list for the Worlds, which is taking place May 20th over in Michigan. They've got a bunch of boats signed up for that already. A bunch of boats have been signed up for the Bass Pro US Open.
Yep.
So a lot of stuff going on with tournaments right now. And Schmitty, we were at the Green Bay Hunting and Fishing Expo
Yeah, I was. Yep.
this past weekend.
Yep.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And we really never really did a lot of the retail shows, these
Sure.
consumer shows.
Right.
But it was so much fun, Derek, because it was so different than the normal buying group shows that are not open to the public and
Right.
stuff like that. It's just
Right.
dealers that come in there and buyers. And it was so fun to talk to people about bow fishing because yet it just blows my mind.
I know.
What is bow fishing?
Mhm.
What are you guys doing?
Yeah.
What are you shooting?
Yep.
So many questions from people. And like I said, it just blows my mind that people still don't know, really a lot about the sport of bow fishing.
Right. I know.
Blows my mind.
Yep. And I don't know if it's because we're so caught up in the industry. We both.
I think
work,
we live it.
We live it. We work it, and then even like when we'll go down somewhere, say Kentucky. You'll even get people asking you like,
Mhm.
"Oh, what are you doing out in that boat?" It's like, what?
Yeah.
You live in the Mecca and you don't even know.
Mhm.
But yeah, it always does blow my mind with
Yeah.
that stuff, and that's something I think at these retail shows that we're informing the public so much more than at a dealer
Right.
show. We're
Absolutely.
talking to
The
so
dealers
many
know
more
about
people.
it. They've
Right.
dealt with
Yeah.
bow fishing gear their whole time they've been in the archery
Yeah.
business.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I know a lot of times I'll pull into a gas station with the AMS boat there and I'll be filling up and people come over and go, "What is that for? What do you do on that thing?"
Yeah.
Like, it keeps my feet dry.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I remember one time I was with you, and I think we were here in Quick Trip in Marshfield, right by where we're at here in Stratford. And I think someone asked you, or maybe you were inside, and they asked me. They said, "Holy moly, that's a nice duck boat." And I don't remember how it went
boat.
down, but I'm like, oh my gosh, is that what people think? Is we got this big
Yep.
duck boat?
Talk about, I've heard people say, "Oh, what do you guys do? Collect minnows? Or did you trap
Oh,
minnows?"
geez. That's a. Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, we do, but they're roughly 30 to 40 pounds when we collect them. Yeah.
But we're going to be at a couple more shows there here
was-
coming up.
gotcha, yeah.
So if you're in the area, you want to make sure that you get to these shows because we have some great specials on a lot of the gear that you can, because like I said, bow fishing is right on the corner, man. It's here, Get stocked up. On March 10th to the 12th, Derek, we're going to be at the Minnesota Deer and Turkey Expo in Shakopee, Minnesota. That's a cool name.
It is a
Shakopee.
cool name. Shakopee. Yeah, that's neat.
Shakopee. Yeah, March 10th through 11th, we're going to have a booth there.
10th through the 12th? Or is it just a two-day show?
10th to the 12th.
10th to the
11th, and 12th.
Gotcha.
3 days.
Okay, gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 10th to the 12th sounds like 2 days, but it's actually 3 days.
Yeah, okay, you said 10th to the 11th. I'm like, is it
I'm
just
sorry.
a Saturday, Sunday?
Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
10th
Sorry
to the 12th.
Yeah.
Yep. And then also, we are going to be at the Spring Sports Show in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, March 17th to the 19th. Like I said, bow fishing around the corner. We're going to have some great deals
Yeah.
on some of this product.
Yep. And we are not going to want to bring any home. Oh. BC 99. If you know, you know. BC 99 expires March 15th. All righty. Cool.
All right, Schmitty.
That's cool. Yeah.
What do you say here? Let's, I think we can call up. Yep, you got something?
I just want to bring up one more thing. Do we
Yep.
want to talk about, Matt, our apparel sale that we got going right now?
Oh, my gosh.
I'm surprised that we have this sale running, to be completely honest with you.
You want to look cool in that boat while you're out taking a picture, holding up your big old buff or your common. You gotta look cool, man.
You know what they say?
You gotta look cool.
Look good, shoot good.
Absolutely.
That's the whole deal right there.
Feel good, look good, shoot good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. But as of, I think that's live right now.
While supplies last.
Well, supplies last. Yes.
Right now.
Up to 50% off select apparel items.
Right.
Okay. So if you guys are looking to have any kind of AMS swag, check that out because you're not going to get a better price than what it is right now. All right, we're getting geared up here for the 2023 season.
Right.
So yeah, make sure to check that out. That's going to be on our sales tab on our website. Check that out and just keep that sales tab in mind throughout the entire season. There's going to be some things on there, but make sure to check out our apparel sale right now.
Right.
Up to 50% off select
Absolutely.
items. Like Matt said, while supplies last.
Yep.
So I just wanted to fit that in there before we gave Brandon a call here. So
And I think we'll give Brandon a call right after this commercial, Schmitty.
Why I Bowfish. Hunting fish with a bow. Non-stop action. Never slow. By day, by night. Great shots. Great fights. With family, with friends. Trash talk never ends. And kids, they love it. If they miss, think nothing of it. By foot, by boat, by board or canoe. How you do it is up to you. Aim low. Shoot fast. Watch your shadow. Watch the grass. Shoot carp, rays, or gar. Shoot 'em close. Shoot 'em far. Stout arrow. Barb tip. Retrieve a reel. Let it rip. Bow fishing. Give it a shot.
And welcome back to the Bowfishing Buzz, brought to you by AMS Bowfishing and
Megamouth Bowfishing as well.
All right, Schmitty, it's time. Let's give our guest, Mr. Brandon Cole, WBA president right here in Wisconsin. Let's give Mr. Brandon a call.
Yeah. Pick Brandon's brain a little bit in this episode.
I hope he's doing okay. He was in a car accident yesterday.
Yeah. Poor guy.
Hello.
Hello, Brandon. This is Matthew and Derek from the Bowfishing Buzz. How the heck are you doing today?
Hey, Brandon.
Good. How are you?
We are doing well. And actually, I'm glad to hear that you are doing well today. Are you a little sore in the shoulder, Brandon?
A little sore. Might have run into a tree.
Yeah,
man,
because
man.
yesterday we had some terrible road conditions. Everything was iced up, slushy and stuff, and you kind of got in a little bit of an accident there and with your vehicle, and I was glad to hear, because actually yesterday when I called you, you were walking out of the hospital yesterday. So we're glad to hear that you're doing better, Brandon.
Yeah.
I got beat up a little bit, but other than that, I'm all right. Just need a new pickup truck. So.
Wow. We're glad that you're doing all right here, Brandon. Say, Brandon, before we get going into the interview here, you want to tell some of our listeners a little bit of a background on yourself, where you're from, some of your hobbies, what you like to do, Brandon?
Okay. Yeah, I'm from Adams Friendship, Wisconsin. Some of the hobbies I like to do is my favorite hobby is probably bullfishing, but I grew up in a family that's big into the outdoors, and I hunt, fish, trap, kind of do all that kind of stuff. That's really what I'm into.
Cool.
Travel the country on multiple trips every year.
Very nice.
Hunting and waterfowl hunting, you name it.
You're doing the outdoors a favor.
Yeah. That's awesome. So Brandon, how long have you been bullfishing, and how did you get started in the sport?
Well, I've been bullfishing. Like I said, I grew up in a family that loved the outdoors, and my parents own a cabin on an island on Petenwall Lake. I want to say I was around 10 years old. I have a identical twin brother, and me and him were always fishing and doing that kind of stuff. Well, all of a sudden, we'd start seeing these fish flopping around on the edge of shore every springtime.
While you're on the island?
My dad said, "Oh yeah, them are." Yep, when we're on the island,
Okay, that's cool.
spend every weekend out there growing up, and my dad's like, "Yeah, them are carp." So he's like, you can shoot them with a bow, because we had bows and arrows, and he's like, "Well, your mom's my mom had a recurve, and in the beginning we didn't really have much. She had one of them hand wrap reels or whatever, and my dad had rigged up a couple actually old aluminum arrows with broadheads, and that's how we got started. One of us would shoot the fish, and the other one would be the guy that would hop in. He had hip waders. He'd help retrieve it because it was really hard with the hand wrap reel, and that's kind of how we got started. And
cool.
So that's kind of how I got into
neat.
bullfishing.
Very cool. Very cool. So your dad kind of introduced you, I guess you want to say, a little bit to bullfishing, kind of told you, you can shoot those with the bow and arrow and have at her, boys. Sound like he was like more than willing to let you guys kind of take your adventures on yourself. So that's pretty cool. So Brandon, have you ever bowfished out of the state of Wisconsin?
Yeah, actually I have. I've been to so I've bullfished in Texas, Missouri, Arkansas.
Wow.
Did I say Kentucky?
Nope, you didn't say Kentucky yet.
I went to Kentucky with Adam Tawak a couple times.
Nice.
And then I've also bullfished bordering waters of Minnesota and Iowa.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
So you've gotten around. That's really cool. You've gotten around on your bowfishing adventure. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. Brandon, we know that you've been shooting in bowfishing tournaments. How long have you been competing in tournaments, and what kind of, drew you to that tournament side of things?
Okay, honestly, I started shooting tournaments around, I want to say, like 2003 to 2004.
Oh, wow.
Is when I kind of started getting into it. And actually, it's kind of funny because the Wisconsin Bowfishing Association was established like in the late 90s. I want to say like 1998 or 1999.
Mm-hmm.
And we were at the cabin the one weekend, and all of a sudden I'm like, what are these weird lights? Oh, there's all these boats kind of around my parents' cabin, and in the morning, my dad had figured out that they're at this Chester Creek boat launch. So we went there in the morning, and they're in a tournament, and a year or two later, by then I was kind of like 16, in the early 2000s there, I just got my driver's license, bought my first boat, and that's kind of honestly what got me into the tournaments, from talking to them guys, and then, just that random encounter.
Absolutely.
That's cool.
What got me into it.
That's very
I've been
cool.
doing it ever since.
Yep. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, Brandon, now is where I want to kind of dive a little bit in and kind of give our listeners out there kind of what's all involved with being involved with the Bowfishing Club. You have been a longtime member of the Wisconsin Bowfishing Association, and now you are the president of that. Can you just tell us a little bit about when and how that all kind of took place?
So this year will be my 5th full year of being president.
Okay. All right.
When I first started getting into bullfishing, I I'd kind of help at tournaments, with weigh-in, and I kind of enjoyed helping kind of be part of running it and directing which direction the club goes. Well, it turned into, I eventually started doing like the points, keeping track of the team of the year stuff. And then it turned into where there was a vice president position was open. So I did that for 1 year. And then our last president, Jeb Verhalen, he was actually going to step down the following year. And that's kind of how I ended up in the position I'm in now. I kind of tossed my hat in the rink, and all the guys voted me in, and I kind of won an election against myself because he was stepping down and no one else decided to do it. So it's kind of where I landed where I'm at now.
All right. That's really cool, Brendan, that, you said you've been president now for 5 years for the WBA, because that's all voluntary time, and that means a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot to put in your time, because there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that you are doing, Brendan. So, hats off to you for stepping up and doing what you are doing right now for the state of Wisconsin's, Bowfishing Association.
Absolutely.
Very cool.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. I got a good group of guys, and, whether they're helping at tournaments or at the annual meeting, and, I get a lot of help even at kids events, and,
Right.
Our fishing expo in Madison, I get a lot of help. So that really helps make it a little easier on my end.
Right, because that's one reason I kind of wanted to have you on today, Brandon, is because, I see a little bit on social media, there's some clubs that are struggling to get going and get on their feet. There's some long-running clubs that are having issues getting new members, getting board members, figuring out what's going on with that state. But one thing that, as long as I can remember, Brandon, that the Wisconsin Bowfishing Association has been a really strong group. We have a lot of good board members that are coming through all the time. We have a lot of good volunteers. We've got a lot of teams that show up at tournaments, so it's really a strong, when I look around, the WBA is really strong, and that goes with the board members and the whole state, people that are out there bowfishing, to have something like that, to be strong like that.
Yeah, very cool. Brandon, what are some of your biggest obstacles that comes with being president of the WBA?
Honestly, the biggest obstacles since I've been president, even when I was like vice president, it seems like it's really turning into, between the DNR and these wealthy landowners, that kind of tends to be the biggest obstacle, because at times, we're noisy, the lights, and a lot of these people on these like really heavy populated lakes are buying their houses, and when they buy the house, they kind of think they, own the water, and then if you disturb them at night, which I mean, that sometimes we're noisy, sometimes the lights are bothersome.
Yep.
You know, that's kind of been my biggest obstacles. Every once in a while we have issues with guys kind of fighting in amongst each other with, you know, because you're in a tournament atmosphere and, you know, that kind of stuff. So I'd say that's kind of the second biggest obstacle, but at the end of the day, it's really the, you know, that's constantly trying to keep the DNR not necessarily at bay, but just keeping a good relationship with them and getting them to understand our point of view has kind of been the biggest battle I found, because they're starting to kind of shut down some of the lakes and kind of crimping. You know, they kind of come there and, you know, we've had instances just even last year they're telling our tournament shooters to leave. They couldn't give them a reason why they had to leave, but they were there interfering with them bullfishing at night. And that was the, you know, DNR and the actual law enforcement came, and they couldn't prove why you couldn't be there because obviously you could be there. And it was just kind of, you know, I'd say the biggest obstacles we kind of face as a bullfishing community right now.
Right. And along with that, Brandon, is a lot of people don't know, you know, you have to apply for, you know, to hold tournaments on the lakes here in Wisconsin. You need to contact the DNR and be allowed to have tournaments on certain bodies of water that you have to deal with as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that's honestly, that's kind of another real big obstacle. Yeah. And actually right now our Secretary Cody Vollert, he's real good. He just kind of took over here. This will be his second full year, but that's the biggest obstacle with the tournament permits that we have is it is getting harder and harder to get them to give you a permit. And there's a lot of, because if they don't do stuff on their end to, you know, if they do a report, we do a report on how many fish we killed and the types we killed. Well, if they don't do the paperwork on their end, the tournament permit process is real difficult, and it's just kind of getting harder and harder. But that's kind of just a battle we got to kind of deal with and live with. So there's a lot of communication that goes on behind the scenes. With that kind of stuff.
Sure. Exactly. Yeah. You know, one thing that I think is really cool about the WBA is when we have our annual meeting. I mean, what do you guess is there, Brandon? 50 plus people at those meetings? Yeah. 40 to 50?
I'd say 50 is kind of on the high end, but we regularly have over 40, I would say, regularly. You know, and we honestly, there's guys that show up to our annual meeting that you won't see them at any of our tournaments because they're either, you know, they're kind of aged out to where they're not actively shooting tournaments. But a lot of our participation at the annual meeting are guys that don't necessarily come shoot our tournaments, but they, you know, they're the first ones to step up and help at, like, say, our kids event or our, you know, just help run the club in general, which is kind of cool because we're not just about tournaments. We're about, you know, a bullfishing community, you know, trying to keep this sport going.
And they're there to be a member, you know, of the Wisconsin Bowfishing Association. So that's really cool. Yeah. And I know one thing that's really cool, Brandon, is at these meetings, you know, everybody has an opinion about this, an opinion about that, and there's no way that you can keep everybody happy at the same time. It's just impossible. But one thing that's really cool, Brandon, that you guys have done this year is you've made some changes on some feedback that some of the members have given in the last couple of years. And it's really some really neat changes, Brandon. You want to tell us about some of those changes for the upcoming season?
Yeah. So so there's been guys, you guys do a statewide tournament, the AMS Big 20. It used to be the AMS Big 30, but now you guys have gone to the AMS Big 20 tournament. And that's a statewide tournament, very popular. A lot of people like doing that. And I know the first guy that kind of brought up shooting a statewide tournament is Luke Gerke. He shot a lot of tournaments. Anyone that's ever shot a tournament or been part of the WBA, they know Luke Gerke. Well, he was planning on doing a 25-year anniversary tournament for the bullfishing tournament, for the bullfishing club, and having it a statewide shoot. Well, then Cody Vollert and I can't think of the other guy's name. Dang it, slipping me. Well, Cody and another guy, they brought it up at the annual meeting to run a statewide tournament. So it got passed. It got voted in. There was actually really, you know, I was kind of a little bit on the edge about it just because they didn't really have, you know, the location locked down. And actually, it's Jesse Hintz is the other guy that brought it up. So these two, brought it up, proposed it. It didn't, it had kind of an idea of being centrally located. So we voted it in, and so that's kind of what we're going to be doing this year for one of the things. So it's going to be a statewide tournament. It's going to be held. We've actually finally got that approved. It's going to be held out of the Adams County Fairgrounds in Adams Friendship, Wisconsin.
Okay.
The club's putting on. We're adding our normal big fish pot, or our normal addition to our state shoot, which is it'll be 1,500 in the Big 20 and 1,500 in the numbers division.
Wow, very nice.
And so that'll be one of the cool things that the club's going to be doing this year is a statewide state shoot. With our normal money added to the payouts. But then also we've been getting a lot of, over the years as we grew. Originally, the Wisconsin Bowfishing Association was just numbers. That's all it was. It's whatever. There was a numbers division and a sportsman division, and you had to enter each one. The numbers side was they just called it the numbers division.
Yep.
And it's kind of your bigger boats, your better tournament shooters, I guess to say, and then your sportsman division, which is also numbers, was kind of your guys just getting into it. Well, over the years, we started watching, and Big 20 came about. We started seeing that, in our national bullfishing club or whatever, and you started seeing that. So then we kind of added that Big 20 class, and we thought that would be kind of, that'd be more for, your average guy or this and that. Well, Big 20 over the years has been very competitive.
Right.
And with competition, naturally, you get the best of the best shooters, you get the best of the best equipment. Yeah. Well, now we're seeing that numbers and Big 20 are so competitive, which is good. That's what, that's what you want. You like competition. I mean, it's a tournament. Well, it's turning into where a lot of our smaller boats, I kind of always call them our mom and pop boats, or father and son, or just guys that generally don't want to, they want to compete, obviously, but they know if they show up to a WBA tournament, they're going to be going up against some of the absolute best teams in the state. And I would actually put a lot of our teams up against guys throughout the country too.
Right. Yep.
So this year we decided, Aaron Wood and I have been kind of working together, and also with all the feedback we've been getting, me and him are kind of talking like, God, wouldn't it be kind of cool to come up with a class that's kind of, meant more for like your average Joe or your guy that just got, say, a 16-foot boat, or, a smaller boat, give him a chance to compete a little more for something. Obviously wouldn't be the biggest payouts. So we come up with this division called the Big 10 hobby class.
Yeah.
And the only really boat restriction we added onto it was no airboats. And the reason we did that is because if you buy an airboat, that's, in theory, that's the best of the best equipment you can have. You really honestly belong either in the Big 20 or numbers division. And some of the feedback is a lot of these guys, the airboats, they are an advantage. I mean, at the end of the day, everyone that's ever shot on an airboat or against an airboat knows that's a huge advantage for getting to point A to point B. And at times it can hinder you. I mean, like say this year, our Big 20 class was actually won by a combination lake boat, fan boat, trolling motor boat. So, and they really did a good job this year. And, so it's not all about what you have, but that's kind of why we went with that, just to keep it more of a, like it's named a hobby class.
Right. And usually if you have an airboat, you're not a first, second, third, or fourth year person anyways.
You've been doing it a while.
You've been doing it a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of why I went that route. And we're just doing this for a 1 year kind of experiment thing. And if it's got good participation, I'm sure it'll get voted back in next year.
Right.
So it's just we're just trying to offer some different stuff, I guess is what we're doing this year.
That's really cool. That's really cool to listen to some of your feedback and make changes.
Yeah.
And be willing to give stuff a try. That's really cool, Brandon.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Very cool. So, Brandon, we've talked about some of the obstacles that you have as the president, but what is your favorite part of being the WBA president?
Honestly, I like to be, I don't necessarily like the leadership aspect of it. I like the kind of camaraderie about, rounding guys up to help at tournaments. And, I like to be I kind of like the, shaping the organization into a cohesive group that gets along. That's the
Cool.
big part. Because then, in years past, things that get out of hand and guys are arguing, and you got to kind of balance ideas and balance them with what makes sense. And I kind of enjoy that part of it.
That's really
Yeah,
cool.
very cool. You're in the right place there for doing what you're doing. That's perfect.
Absolutely. So now we're going to jump to some of your bow fishing adventures here, Brandon.
I got a lot of them.
I want to know, what's your favorite fish to target, and what's your biggest fish that you've ever shot?
Well, my favorite target is I love going after buffalo carp, and I always take off of work when they're spawning. I like to go out and chase some big buffalo carp, and I usually put guys on the boat and friends, and usually my wife comes and shoots with me a few times. But my favorite carp to chase is the buffalo carp.
Okay.
Is what I like
buffs.
shooting.
The old buff. The big mouth
And
buffs.
the big mouth
Yep.
buff.
Yep.
And actually last year I finally broke the 50-pound mark.
Sweet. Sweet.
And I'm sorry, actually it was a year before I broke the 50-pound mark, and I shot it was either 56 pounds or 57 pounds. I can't remember the exact weight.
Yeah.
But it was
That's a tanker.
I'm still after them 80, 90-pound ones some guys keep getting, but it's kind of been eluding me. I did stick an arrow in one time, and he ended up spooling me and taking my line, and never did catch back up with him. But
No? Could you see your arrow a little bit? Could you chase your arrow a little bit with it stuck in him?
yeah, I actually I had another guy with me that he was just kind of new to it, and it was at night, and we were chasing the string around, and finally we caught up to it, and it wrapped around a stump.
Oh.
And we're all excited, and he missed the backup shot. Anyone that's ever bowfished know that's the hardest shot ever in the world, especially when it's a big fish, is your backup shot.
Mm-hmm.
So he misses it, and at the end of the day, the darn thing pulled out, and I got my arrow back and all my line, but I didn't get that big fish. And I don't know how big that buffalo was, but he's one of the biggest ones I've ever seen in the water.
Wow. And, really, people, that think about Wisconsin over the years have kind of grown to know that we have some big fish here. But, before a lot of these fish were put out there on social media and stuff like that, not a lot of people knew that Wisconsin had some big fish. Yeah. We've got some big fish, Brandon, in the state of Wisconsin. Even, our commons.
Oh,
which is weird because
it was kind of a little secret for a while.
Yeah, right. Because, when I would go to Kentucky, I would think, well, Kentucky Lake is huge, or Barkley Lake is huge. Mm-hmm. There should be some giant commons down there. And they're all like, no, we don't have big commons here. I'm like, well, your season is longer. Why don't you have, I don't know if it's something to do with the feed. Yeah. The feed that they're putting on. Right. But, yeah, we got some big fish here in Wisconsin.
Yeah, you think they grow bigger down there.
Right,
really
right.
Would.
Yep, because they have, big smallmouth buffs down there and stuff like that. It's just weird that their commons aren't as big. Because actually my buddy Dennis Redden, he came up here to bowfish for carp because he says, I want to shoot one of them big carp, So he came all the way up here to shoot commons.
Right, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Yeah, we got some fat common carp, and I kind of think they're starting to kind of get bigger in a lot of these lakes too. I think between us kind of thinning them down a little bit, I don't know if it just seems like they're getting bigger and bigger.
Well, now you got more feed. They have less competition for food.
Right.
I mean, if Schmitty is always eating my Doritos in the lunchroom every day, and now all of a sudden
Schmitty's
gone. Now I got my Doritos again. Now I can put on some more weight.
That's a very, very good comparison. That's a very good comp. Brandon, you've competed in the AMS Big 20 for several years, and lately you've been competing in the tournament with your wife. You just want to tell us a little bit about that and why you're doing that?
Yeah, so I throughout the year I've actually been blessed enough to I hop boat to boat. My old team kind of stopped shooting, so I've been on a lot of really good bowfishing teams, competing statewide and sometimes nationally. But the AMS tournament always kind of landed on, I'd always kind of take a break, and then also my wife's like, hey, I want to shoot a tournament with you. So she shot that one year with me, and then it's turned into, now we just do kind of a little couples fun shoot every year. So me and her, we usually take about 2 nights of scouting, and we do pretty good. We're just shy of winning the biggest fish in the tournament last year, and I think we took 11th. You know, and that was just me and my wife. I mean, she's definitely, I've shot with a lot of people, and once she gets rolling, she doesn't do too much missing. So
that's really cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
In the boat.
That's awesome. And you think about that now. So you've got Brandon going out, him and his wife, just the 2 shooters.
Yeah.
Competing against, most of the boats that come here have 4-person teams.
Yep.
So, I mean, I know last year when you guys came through the weigh-ins, I was talking to you and taking pictures of you and your wife holding up your fish there, and you were just saying how much fun you had that night, spending, being out in the water and enjoying the tournament atmosphere and still being competitive.
Right.
Because, like you said, your wife is a darn good shot, I mean, that's really date night. Hey, honey, it's date night tonight. We're going to go scouting for the big 20.
Holy cow.
That's cool.
That's
really
amazing.
cool.
Yeah.
That's
we've
cool.
had. I think I've done that 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah.
It's just her, but it's a blast. And I always tell people, because a lot of people look at like these $high rigs and this and that. But if you're shooting like say big 20 or whatever division you're shooting, I mean numbers, you're going to need probably a top of the line boat. But with the big 20, I mean you got to go out there, you got to kill 20 fish. A lot of teams beat themselves before they ever go to the tournament, and you can't beat yourself. You can beat anybody you want. Especially in the big 20. I've seen some of the biggest names get taken down. Like you just gotta have a little bit of luck too. That helps, but proper preparation really helps. The scouting is key.
Scouting is critical. You hit it right on the head right there, Brandon. Scouting is critical.
Yeah.
Especially
and most of the time when you're. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, especially for these statewide tournaments where you can kind of get away from people, and you might find a body of water that nobody's even on, bow fishing. And if you can find something special on that body of water, wow, that is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You find the spot.
I'd recommend too, just focus on the average. Don't, a lot of them guys try to hit the home run, but I'm always an average guy, and you can look back every year, you guys are good about posting your results. You can kind of say, the weather is kind of like this, and it took an average, say 26 pounds to win the tournament. Well, if you find a whole bunch of 26-pound fish or 26-pound fish, you got it won instead of trying to chase that, them 3 or 4 35-pound fish and then the rest of your 20 or 10-pound fish. You're never going to win that way. So that's, that's a few of the secrets I got. They ain't the best secrets in the world. But I think that separates us from a lot of people.
Absolutely. That's a great point, Brandon. You don't need to go chasing those 30-plus pounders if you've got a pile of 25s.
Right.
Yeah.
If you think you can get a 25-pound average, you don't need to go chase and look for a 30, unless you want to try to go for the big fish pot or something like that there. But, that's a really good point, Brandon.
Exactly.
Yep.
And I always shoot too, and it's important, like say you're scouting on like a Wednesday or Thursday night, when you can legally shoot fish. I always shoot a couple sample fish. Some guys don't touch their fish, they don't, but I always shoot a couple sample fish because in the water, you can talk yourself into that fish is 30 pounds. Well, until you put them on a scale, you don't really know what you got.
Exactly.
So that's another thing I would strongly recommend doing.
Exactly. Well, Brandon, we're going to wrap it up with one more question here. What advice would you give to the next generation of bowfishers coming into the sport?
I'd say the best advice I can give you, if you're just getting into the sport, just have fun, but be respectful. Make sure you have a proper spot to dispose of your fish. That's kind of one of the biggest complaints I get is fish getting dumped.
Yep.
I mean, people they dump them in the parking lot, and I have never understood why, if you're gonna, not take your fish, why would you put them in the parking lot?
Right.
I mean, I get that all the time. And don't dump your fish. Line up a good spot to dispose of your fish. But just enjoy the sport. Get out there, be as polite as you can. When you encounter problems too, and if you bowfish at night, no matter what you do, you're gonna make someone mad. I mean, there's no way around it. Someone's gonna be mad at you. When they come down, just be as respectful as you can to them.
Right.
But also, I would say if you're just getting into bowfishing and you want to shoot tournaments, just scout. If you want to do good, that's the best thing you can do is scout. Right. Learn your boat, learn what type of water your boat can handle, and figure out which division you want to be in. And I would say if you're just getting out, I'd say if you're just starting, start with our new little hobby class there, the Big 10 or Big 20 is what I would recommend if you're just starting out.
Right. That's great advice, Brandon. Great advice. Well,
but the best advice I can give is scout. That's not,
absolutely.
If you plan on shooting a tournament, get out there and scout. Because there's so many people that, the guys that are winning tournaments are scouting. That's the big secret. The more time you put on the water, you can't change the weather, but you can change like, hey, this area had nothing in it. So the next tournament night, it's probably going to have nothing in it. Most times when I'm scouting, I'm finding spots that I'm not going to go,
Right. Yep.
Sometimes
scouting is good because it gives you spots where not to go too.
Yeah. Eliminate water.
Eliminate water.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, really cool, Brandon. Well, Brandon, thank you so much for joining us here on the Bowfishing Buzz podcast with some of your insights on being involved with a club and being the president of a bowfishing club right here in Wisconsin. Thank you for your time, and thank you for joining us here today on the Bowfishing Buzz podcast.
Hey, well, I appreciate the opportunity, and I'm glad I got to talk.
You bet, and we hope you are feeling better from your accident. We're glad that you're okay from your accident, and now you get to go and pick out a new vehicle, so good luck with that, Brandon.
Yeah, get to upgrade trucks today.
There you go. Thanks, Brandon.
All right. Take care, Brandon.
Talk to you guys later.
You bet.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Cool insight into things that, people might not realize the president is doing for a bowfishing club, the WBA, something like that. That's kind of neat.
Yeah. And one thing that I want to bring up that he was talking about here about some of the obstacles in as being the president is getting you're getting the complaints from the DNR and from homeowners.
Yeah.
A couple years back, Derek, right after the AMS Big 20, I got 2 complaints from landowners that found out that we were running the tournament, and they emailed us. Okay.
Emailed us. Their first course of action was they emailed us directly, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. Yep. So I emailed them back, and I actually ended up calling both of them. One of them, I can see why she was upset. There was they were loading their boats at like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. In
an area where they really shouldn't have been power loading.
Oh, okay.
So we discussed that, and they understood why we were doing it, what the benefits are. They knew all that stuff.
Sure.
So we talked to them and kind of smoothed that a little bit.
Yep.
The other landowner, same thing, kind of knew a little bit about the sport, but he was having issues with the lights and the noise at late hours.
Yep.
Okay. So we actually set up a time with that landowner on that body of water. Justin Wilkie and we met him. All right. We met him at a bar restaurant right there on that body of water.
Yep.
We sat down, we introduced each other. We talked a little bit about what we do and why we do it. And he told us what he does and what his issues are with the sport. So we had a meal and we discussed a little bit about, the situation. Then we took him out bowfishing.
Oh,
Derek.
my gosh. Wow. Perfect.
We took him out bowfishing for an hour just so he could see, why we're out there doing it. We threw a bow in his hand.
Sure. There you go.
We're like, shoot, shoot. And that went a long ways.
I bet that's a perfect way to conflict resolution. That's perfect.
Absolutely. And, we're like, most of the time you're getting the boats on the water during the spawn.
Yep.
You know, so those boats are out there depending on weather 1 to 2, 3 weeks at a time.
Sure. Yep.
During that time.
Yep.
And we told them that, this is not a year long or a summer long, spring into summer long deal.
Yeah.
It's a select time, but that went a long way. It's just to talk to him, take him out on the water, let him see what we're doing, why we're doing it, and to let him experience bowfishing.
Right.
Haven't heard a complaint from him again.
That's really cool. Actually, that's an admirable way to go about that. That's kind of neat.
Yep. So cool. We had a good time. So Derek, I don't know,
58 minutes of pure adrenaline.
It is March, everybody. March Madness is what I call it, but not for basketball reasons, for bowfishing reasons, because it's like the kickoff to our seasons.
It is.
Streams and creeks are opening up. What a great place to go Just stick some commons.
Absolutely.
Little culverts that open up, start opening up and filtering water into flowages and stuff like that.
Fish want that oxygen. They'll be there.
Absolutely. Below dams. Hey, that's right, buddy. It's that time of year to have some fun. So get on the water, enjoy the great sport of bow fishing, and remember, aim low,
think big. Thanks for listening, everybody.